Hi, I'm Victoria here at Justworks. We have all the tools you need to create and manage paid time off policies and customize holiday schedules in your Justworks account. First, I'll show you how to create a custom holiday schedule for your employees. We recommend creating a custom paid holiday schedule before setting up a vacation or sick leave policy. After you've logged into your Justworks account, you'll first go to the HR section and select Time Off. Here, you'll find the holiday schedule. You can choose which federal holidays to observe. If you want to make adjustments, you can remove holidays by unchecking boxes. The holidays you set up here will apply to all employees working in this country, including both full-time and part-time employees. You also have the flexibility to add custom holidays that aren't included in the pre-populated list. We understand that every company has its own approach to holidays, and you may want to offer additional days beyond federal holidays to your employees. I'll add day after Christmas as an example. To help save time and remove the need for manual yearly updates, you have the option to select whether you want the new holiday to repeat every year, on the same day or week, or not at all. I'll select yes and then save. Once that all looks good to you, you'll select Save and your holiday schedule is ready to go. Once the holiday schedule has been set, you can move into making a paid time off policy. To do so, first select Add New Policy. This will take you through the flow of setting up the policy. So, for policy name, I'll say this is a vacation time off policy and enter vacation policy. The policy description is optional, but I do see a lot of companies add in a blurb from their employee handbook. From there, you'll select when you want this policy to go into effect. So let's just say I'm making a new policy from the start of the year. I'll enter in January 1st. And then from here, you will select your policy type. In this instance, I'm creating a vacation paid time off policy. So I'll select vacation. Please note, it is best practice to create a separate policy for each type of leave, such as sick leave. Next, you can choose the policy structure. You have two options to select from to ensure your time off policy aligns with your company's operations. The first option is to structure the policy based on the calendar year. This means the PTO cycle resets on January 1st of every year. The other option is to have the PTO cycle reset on each employee's work anniversary. For my example, I'll select work anniversary. You can customize your company's PTO balance structure based on your preferences and, in some instances, state regulations. We've included a couple different options to select from. You can let employees accrue a set number of days over a year. You can grant employees their full balance at the beginning of each year or on their work anniversary. You can assign an hourly accrual rate and have employees accrue paid time off based on hours worked. We typically see hours per hours worked associated with sick leave policies more often than paid time off, but it is an option for vacation policies if that fits your company policy. Or you can offer an unlimited or flexible PTO policy. In my example, I'll select days per year granted up front. Then, I'll set the number of paid time off days per year to 15. This means that every January 1st, your company grants employees 15 days of vacation paid time off for the entire year. They have immediate access to their full balance and don't need to wait to accrue time before using it. When setting up your PTO policy, you'll need to define it in days. However, employees can submit PTO requests both in days and in hours, and both their daily and hourly balances will be available for reference. Our policy add-ons are next. The three policy add-ons are tenure increases, carryover caps, and accrual caps. First, let's see what it would look like to add a tenure increase. A tenure increase is when a company rewards employees who have worked at the company for a certain amount of time by granting them additional days off. For tenure increases, it's a best practice to structure your policy to reset each year on the employee's work anniversary. This will ensure your paid time off policy in Justworks seamlessly aligns with your company policy. For instance, if tenure increases are added to a policy with a calendar year PTO cycle, the increase would not take place on the employee's actual work anniversary, but rather on the following January. For example, let's say an employee has a start date of February 1st, 2025. and your company policy states that employees will receive a tenure increase after 2 years of employment. If your policy runs on the calendar year, this employee would receive their first tenure increase on January 1st, 2028 instead of February 1st, 2027. For this example, we are going to say that your company policy states that employees will receive 15 days of PTO per year. And then once they reach 2 years of tenure, they will then receive an additional 5 days. You can see after their first year,
the balance will reflect 15 days. Then after their second year, on their second work anniversary, they will receive an extra 5 days, bringing them to a total of 20 days for the year.
If you choose to do so, you can add multiple tenure increases. Maybe you want to give employees another bump when they reach their 5-year anniversary. You can go in and add an additional 5 days when employees reach 5 years with your company as well. Next, you have the option to set a carryover cap where you specify a set number of days employees can carry over into the new year, or reset unused paid time off to 0 at the end of the policy cycle.
Let's say you want to limit PTO carryover to a maximum of 5 days each year.
At the end of the year, any employee with more than 5 unused PTO days will have their balance reset to 5 days. Here you'll see the total days and then the total hours. Some states like California, Montana, and Nebraska have regulations on carryover caps within PTO policies. Additionally, certain states prohibit 0-day carryover caps, commonly known as use it or lose it policies. To stay compliant, your company may need to create separate time-off policies for different states based on their specific carryover regulations. The final optional setting is an accrual cap, which limits the maximum number of PTO days an employee can accumulate at any given time. Some states will have regulations on carryover caps, so an accrual cap can help you maintain compliance. For instance, in California, you can't apply a carryover cap, but you can set an accrual cap to stop employees from accumulating an excessive amount of time off that you will then need to pay out if they leave the company voluntarily or involuntarily. California has a requirement that the accrual cap be reasonable, which means it must be set at an amount that is at least greater than the annual accrual allotment. As you decide how many days to set for an accrual cap, you may check with your legal counsel for guidelines on what might be considered reasonable. With Justworks, once you configure your policy add-ons, the system automatically applies those settings, eliminating the need for manual updates year after year. Once you get down to settings, you can choose whether you would like to sync your team's time cards with this PTO policy. This setting determines whether you would like time off to be automatically included on the time cards of hourly or salaried non-exempt employees. When this is set to sync, the time off hours will be automatically added and then paid. I'll select sync here so that approved time off is paid automatically for all hourly or salaried non-exempt employees. I can see this by going to Payments, selecting Time Cards, and then selecting Show Details for an employee. I will see a row for paid time off with the hours and the amount to be paid. What's an example of when employers choose Don't Sync? If you don't want time off hours to be added to the time card and paid automatically, you can choose Don't Sync. Employers may select Don't Sync if they are setting up an unpaid time off policy for hourly employees. Let's say you wanted to offer 2 personal days per year that will be unpaid for part-time hourly employees. If you chose Don't Sync, employees could request the days off and employers could approve them, but the days would not be added to the employee's time card or paid. Once you set up the policy, continue to the next page. Next, this is the section where you'll assign employees who can request time off under this policy. When choosing the employees to assign, you can group them by office, department, or employment type, making selection easy and seamless. For this example, let's say your employees are spread across multiple states and you've set up different policies to comply with each state's regulation. You're looking to assign this PTO policy to all employees in the California office. If we select Office, the system will automatically filter employees based on their office location, making it easier to assign them to the appropriate policy. Another helpful filter is the Employee Type filter. This filter is especially useful for companies who have a mixed workforce that includes both part-time and full-time employees. This filter allows you to easily separate these groups, ensuring each employee is assigned to the appropriate policy without any confusion. For this example, let's say we wanted to select all employees and select Continue. If you're coming from another PEO or HR platform and you want your employees' PTO balances to carry over seamlessly, you'll need to input their balances from your old system. This ensures that their starting PTO in Justworks accurately reflects any remaining time off from your previous provider. To do that, you'd select Manually Adjust Starting Balance. This allows us to make adjustments. So, let's say you're coming into Justworks in February. You are on another system for the whole month of January.
Let's say Ashley has already taken 2 days off in January. You can adjust her balance to take into account the 2 days that she took off in January under the previous system. So we'll change her 15 days to 13 days.
And let's say you used to have an accrual policy, but now you're changing that to an upfront policy. You'll want to make sure that you're coming in here and adjusting any starting balances halfway through the year. So, for example, if my new policy grants employees 15 days upfront on January 1st, and I'm setting this up in February, I might update all employees' balances to be at least 15 days. When you've made all of your adjustments, select Create Policy. You did it! Now your policy will live under the Policies tab on the Time Off page, and we can see the new policy listed out for you here. Now you know how to create and manage PTO policies for your company and how to update balances and make adjustments for individual employees.